So yeah, the dark side is it's a project that's been known about for a really long time. It doesn't really look like a problem when there's not chalk on it because the holds are um, they're not really like a lot of holds, I would say. It's like this crazy kind of rail system that transitions from down and left on the boulder to the towards the center of the wall where it meets right at the top. It meets the force, which the force starts on Thriller and goes up a couple moves and then cuts left, and then this thing comes in from the far left side of the wall and meets up with the force at the end. And once chalk's on it, it makes sense. You can see these rail systems, and it basically starts off with like a pretty good crimper rail, and then that rail ends, and then there's two very, very, very small edges. They're very small, and they're extremely sharp, but they're just kind of perfectly placed to get you to this next sloper rail system. And the sloper rail doesn't really look like a usable sloper until it has chalk on it. It's like for sure the worst sloper I've ever grabbed, but it's huge.
Right.
It's almost the size of like a small surfboard. It's like it's or like bigger than a skateboard, smaller than a surfboard, but it's this big kind of sloper ramp, and there's no identifiable like hold on it. You just kind of like start finding where the crystals line up with your fingers and just kind of like surf your way across it. And then it goes into a little crimp section at the end with very, very small crimps. And then it leads into the end of the force where it significantly kind of eases up. And I looked at it for a long time as just like this kind of like, maybe that's possible. But it wasn't until I think like, yeah, 2013, that I like put some chalk on it, and it was like, this kind of looks like a boulder problem now, at least. But I couldn't really do many moves or nothing really kind of lined up. And I've just kind
Right.
of checked back in on it over the years. And, you know, you'd have a year, where climbing was going really well, and then you could maybe do a couple moves on the sloper rail. And then at one point I was able to do the whole sloper rail. And then I was like, got close on the crimp section crux, and then I was like, okay, this is something that can be done for sure, but never
Mhm.
seen anyone get close to it. And then Jimmy Webb moved to California in like 2017, and I think in that year or maybe the year after he started trying it, and we both started trying it together. We both made some really good links on it, and then he got really close to doing it, and I think that was the first time where I was like, this definitely goes, and this is definitely something that I want to do, but I didn't feel like I was quite ready at the time. And then, yeah, over the last, 3 or 4 years since then or more, I've just kind of checked back in with it every year. And it slowly got to the point where I was just like, okay, now I think I can do this thing, and just kind of
And
dove into
and
it.
so just staying on theme here,
Yeah.
and this is a bit of a leading question, but it it sounds like just with the anatomy of the problem that it's not a brute strength, crimp strength, course. It sounds like it's a very technical, almost sketchy traverse.
Yeah.
And I've seen photos, the photos that you put up there waiting on the film, but of kind of how you walk your way through this, and it really does look like you're just kind of palm dragging on almost nothing. Obviously, you're engaging a lot, I'm sure, of the flexion there and this kind of thing. But is it as a whole? You've suggested a V16 grade for it. Is it just technical mastery that ultimately is what you earned over the course of the years to come together on this, or did you unlock some moves, some beta or some strength in order to pull this thing together? Kind of what was it that pulled it all together? All right, y'all, just a quick minute here to talk about every climber's favorite topic, finger strength, and how we can build it. And I'm telling you guys, this has changed the game for me. Check out the Force board. I've been using it for a while now, and I am already seeing the difference in my finger endurance and finger strength. And that's because it's allowing me to precisely dial in what I need in any given workout. I mean, it's tiny, so I can throw it in my bag and take it to the crag for my warm-up or to the gym or when I'm traveling. It logs everything in the app automatically. I can even see how I stack up against the community with regard to my finger strength. It's gamifying the way I'm training. Dr. Tyler Nelson's been on the show to talk about how effective this kind of training is, and I am loving it. If you're a geek about training your fingers like I am, you got to check out the Force board. It's cheaper than a pair of climbing shoes, and it's going to level up how you train your fingers. Also, if you use that link below and use code STRUGGLE at checkout, you get 10% off, and the show gets a little bit of love. So get out there, get those strong fingies and start sending.
Yeah, I mean, definitely there was a certain knowing how to where to apply power on certain sections and knowing how to apply power to like Yosemite and not slip off. But yeah, it was
Hmm.
definitely like getting to a point of technical proficiency that allowed me to do it. And it's an anomaly amongst the really hard boulders in that it's like a shuffle. Like you're just shuffling this rail system basically the whole way. And I don't know of any
Right.
other really hard climbs that are literally just like a hand shuffle, you know, like, you know, and it's like an
Totally.
extreme, like when I worked on it, I was like, I'm basically just on the Beastmaker 45s and then just shuffling to another set of Beastmaker 45s constantly. And so I was like, why would I hangboard work out? That's literally when I'm working on this thing, I'm literally just hangboarding all day. Like it's, you
Right.
know, I'm not actually pulling on anything. I'm just hanging and then I shuffle to the right and then I shuffle my hand in and then, you know, and that's what's weird about it. There is one really hard pull move on the crux where you like grab this really sharp crimp and you have to do a deep lock off to get onto the sloper rail. But the rest of
Hmm.
it really is just shuffling and then what I learned was how to have my feet kind of pull me through some of the motions. And so the footholds are terrible. There's one pretty good foot, but it's kind of slopey. And as you pull up on the slopers, it pulls you off the foot. And so what I learned in terms of the technical side of stuff is how hard can I pull on these holds, but also maintain enough weight on my foot. And I think that that's a really difficult thing to do in climbing. And that's one of the more advanced techniques that I've learned over the years, especially from climbing in Yosemite, is how to hold on to a hold, but not pull yourself off of the feet. And it's a
Hmm.
very, very distinct, like you can go to the gym and you can be like, okay, how can I pull on this hold and hold on to this hold, but at the same time push myself down into the footholds? And I think that's a really interesting, you know, practice to get into as a climber. And it's something that has really allowed me to, you know, progress massively on in a technical sense.
How can you train that in a gym? You just set like dual text garbage feet or no feet? You know, how can you work on that distribution that is seems very not necessarily unique, but very critical to Yosemite style climbing, and whether we're talking about climbing routes on El Cap or Meltdown or you know this Boulder, that style that Yosemite forces is there. But for me, where I've got pockets and jugs and everything everywhere at the red, I would need to start to work on that nuance, I think,
Mhm.
and understanding that distribution at the gym. And is there a way to approximate it?
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways off the top of my head. One way is just to start using worse feet in your gym sessions, period. Just
Hmm.
not relying on those big, massive feet. You can do that on a spray wall. If there's a lot of jibs on the spray wall, then if you've climbed stuff on the spray wall, only use the tiny jib feet. Don't track. Don't use the handholds that you were using prior. Just use the tiny jibs. And that's going to focus a lot more energy on keeping your feet on the wall. The other thing is to if you can do a dynamic move in the gym, find ways to start doing it with your feet staying. And so I've dug into that a lot is that even if I can do a move in the gym, I try and do it as many different ways as possible. And so say if there's like a dead point where your feet just kind of barely come off, now you're every time you go in the gym, you should be trying that move over and over again while trying to keep tension on the foot throughout the move, slow the move down and not lose the feet on it.